Hello to all of my BPTV friends, Facebook friends, YouTube friends. I'm Alan Levine, the Talking Machine. I'm doing my 87th The Talking Machine show. I have another great guest. Will you please introduce yourself?
My name's Ken Usey. Thank you for having me, Alan.
And I haven't seen you in years, and we're going to find out where you were born and other things there and what you're doing now. I'm excited to see you. And
Thank you.
tell us where you grew up.
I grew up north of the city of Pittsburgh, about 30 miles,
Okay.
outside of Zelienople, which technically I lived in Fombell.
Well,
Which was
my daughter lives in Zelienople.
She does.
I had guys that lived in Mount Oliver that worked with me at the Pittsburgh Press, these McAfee brothers. One lived in Fombell and one lived in Evans City, and their last name was McAfee. So I know people around the
Okay,
area, as I
interesting.
prove again.
A lot of people know the area from Camp Conakry. A lot of city folk would come up a couple weeks in the summer or however long and
Well,
enjoy
here, how
summer
about
camp.
I go visit my friend Frank in Fombell, and he had a family,
Okay.
3 boys, and they were planting Christmas trees at the time.
Okay.
So then I went back 10, 20 years. They had a whole forest of Christmas trees, and that
Nice.
was being harvested by somebody that owned the land.
Beautiful.
So that's a little bit
That's
of my
Fombell,
story.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what schools did you go to?
I went to high school at Riverside High School, and then I went off to main campus, Penn State, for
Nice.
4
We
years.
are. My
That's
daughter
right.
graduated there 4 years.
Nice.
What degree or degrees did you get?
I started off studying architecture, and then I decided it wasn't going to be quite what I thought that would be, so I,
Well, we're teenagers, so when you start to
Yeah,
think about it,
yeah.
anything's out there.
Right.
So.
and then I decided I dropped into photography, and I was taking enough classes to get a minor in graphic design.
Wow.
And then I decided my senior year to take film classes. So rather than getting
What a
the
progression
minor,
here.
yeah, and it was kind of like today they'd call it a multimedia degree.
Right.
At that
Well,
time,
my
I was
daughter
making
got
my
a
own.
communications arts and science degree.
Oh, well, it would be like that.
Yeah.
Kind of,
That's
really.
what brought that up. So,
Yeah.
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 She got 2 other degrees, English and rhetoric, because of me.
What, if I may, what's she doing with that?
She's an IT person.
Good for
And
her.
I got to brag, she just had my first grandson, Nolan James.
All right,
And
congrats.
her biggest client is JP Morgan.
Very nice.
And we won't mention her last name so they can't research her, so
There you
we'll
go.
go there. But
Yeah,
that's
there you
my
go.
daughter. And yeah, it's just a small world with things. I was going to be an architectural engineer,
Ah,
and I ended up, they know my story, ended up working at the Pittsburgh Press for 36 years as a production worker, threw everything away and had a good career.
you did more than that, if I remember right.
Yes,
I think you were
yeah.
representing the union.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that's a big
yeah,
accomplishment.
negotiate multi-million-dollar
Yeah.
contracts, but you flipped the interview, so I appreciate that. Were you involved in any sports growing up?
No, I did try in high school
Okay.
to start a wrestling team,
Ah, nice.
but I couldn't get the momentum behind it. So,
Well, in a small school, it's tough.
Right. Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand. When did you start working? Did you have any side jobs growing up in high school or grade school? Or
I did. There's you might know it actually, the Kaufman House
Yes.
in Zelienople.
I've eaten there, and
Okay.
they remodeled it.
They
and my
have.
daughter and son-in-law took me there, and the food, magnifique.
They have beautifully remodeled that place. But
Yeah.
and when I was there, it was nice.
It was darker from what I recall.
It was.
Yeah,
it
but it was
ni-
cool.
It was nice. I got my first job there, bussing tables.
Nice.
You know, a friend of mine worked there waitressing, and she pulled me in. So
Why? That's
it was
always
wonderful.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you work through college at all, or?
I did. I did some bussing of tables at restaurants. I never.
Well, you could make money.
Yeah, I never waited on tables. And then what else did I do in college as far as money? I guess that was mostly it. I had some scholarships,
Oh, did you?
so that helped.
Yeah. Anything that saves you money.
Right. And then right after college, you know, I found my thing when I finally got into film.
Well, they call it a niche now,
There you go.
not a niche.
There you go. You say tomato, I say patata.
Yeah. No, we got it. So what job did you get?
I ended up, I just took off to Los Angeles. And
What made you think of that from a small town going to one of the biggest cities in America.
Well,
High aspirations and big dreams.
like so many people, yes, I graduated from college. I did well in film. I was encouraged to continue.
Hold
So-
it, we got to interrupt. I did a magazine,
Oh my.
and it was my second Pittsburgh Sportsline magazine. Sorry to bring up sports and me, but you know, some of it, you know, we carry on there. So,
That makes sense.
and
I recognize
I had
that.
an idea of a hockey player. Look what Ken created for me, and people went crazy with that. They
Yeah.
loved it.
I was honored to do that, and it was a fun shoot, very simple shoot. That's Brandon Ryan. He's a local.
Oh, nice.
And I think the makeup artist name, if I remember right, was China. Maybe China Harrell. So
okay.
shout out to her too.
There we go. A little bit of history here.
Yeah,
No, but that's the type of skills he has, and look at that photo.
thank you.
No, it was
Very
great.
cool. So,
So
yeah,
now you're in LA.
I'm in LA.
What'd you do?
You know, when I landed there, I had the misfortune of coming exactly when the writers decided to go on strike.
Timing is everything.
Yeah. So what I did was I volunteered on some student productions at the American Film Institute. And I networked by doing that and was able to meet people. And then I started getting pulled onto, you know, paying jobs
Right.
after that. So that served me well, actually.
No, that is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And you loved it.
I loved it. But I didn't love LA. I stayed like so many people. They go, I admit, I was young and dumb. I,
Right.
like anybody else, expect everything to happen quickly.
Sure.
Does not. So I returned to Pennsylvania after 2.5 years, and actually I tried to land in Pittsburgh, but I didn't know anybody in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Like I'd grown up in the country,
Right.
and then I went to Penn State,
Yeah.
and then out to Los
Here's
Angeles.
what's amazing. You're a country guy. I'm
Yeah.
a city guy born in the Hill District. So I knew that downtown, worked there from 15. So you're coming in with
Cold.
nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
cold.
So I actually ended up going back to State College
No way.
and living up there for a while. Then, long story short, I decided, you know what? This is kind of beat too. I need to go back and grow up a little bit. So I went back to Los Angeles and knew what I was getting into this time.
Yes.
Knew what traffic was like, is like, still is like.
Right. People
And
tell me. Yeah.
Yeah, it is bad.
Like we think it's traffic if we're in something for 45 minutes.
Right.
That's you just getting onto one
Yeah,
of the
pretty
highways.
much. Yeah. Yeah. So, but no, I decided I would stick it out, and I ended up kind of having a foot in both worlds. I was
Really?
working the photography world and the film world. So, you know, a lot of this
That's quite a dichotomy.
it
Yeah.
is, but it almost makes sense except for the networking part. Let me explain. So, like a lot of the skill sets transfer. Visual
Right.
arts, makeup, photography is a big part of filming, of course, right?
Right.
But what I didn't know naively was that you have to network very specifically within the world
Sure.
that you want to end up.
Sure.
And I thought, well, I'm working on celebrity shoots and fashion shoots, so surely
You figured it blended.
I thought it blended more.
Yeah.
What it did do for me, though, was I was able to make enough money. I was doing a lot of lighting for photo shoots, some on films as well, but I found out that I could make enough money to make rent and live comfortably.
Oh,
by-
really? So you were able to survive and make money?
Oh, yeah. And I was doing well enough to have enough time to develop my own projects. So that was the compromise I was
Well,
making.
you have an
too.
open mind and you're very creative and a modest
you.
guy, so I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
But no, that's so cool because a lot of people don't make it.
Well, I've been stubborn, no doubt.
Don't tell me. I understand that.
Yeah, and but then the economy crashed just as I was trying to get a film off the ground.
And this was around 2008,
Yeah,
2009.
exactly.
Well, that was a debacle there
For everybody, yeah.
all over the country.
That was tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came back to Pittsburgh at that time. But
Again.
right? And I came back, one, because the economy crashed. Two, because I was trying to get a project off the ground about Edgar Allan Poe.
I remember we talked about
I
that.
think we did,
Yeah.
And I finally had to put that on the back burner and I've been developing other projects. Yeah, there's a few that are in the works. One is, if I can talk
Yes.
about it.
This is about you.
Thank you.
I can't make it up. We did meet a few years later, around 2013, I think it was. So you
That's about
had
right.
mentioned
Yeah,
some
yeah,
of that.
that's about the right
So
time.
I'm just
Yeah.
recollecting.
Yeah. And I mean, for that project, actually, for the Edgar Allan Poe project, I scouted a lot of wonderful locations in the area. I had the cooperation of Little Neshannock Farms.
Yeah,
Horse
I know
farm.
the area. We talked yesterday. A friend of mine was a little league coach up there and
Okay.
lived up there, and yeah.
We got some beautiful shots in the winter using horses and local actors, and just got a very beautiful, what I almost would
It's
could
really
consider-
great
it's a-
country. Yeah, it's beautiful country.
beautiful up there, yeah. And Fombelle as well, and
Yeah.
I shot in Zillinople too.
There you go.
At
yeah,
the,
very historic there.
I used the Passavant house, which
Yeah.
is a historical site.
I've heard about it. I'm a
Yeah.
history guy, so
Yeah.
I've heard about things in the area.
So I ended up with a very nice, what I would call proof of concept. I had a lot of compromises, so the story itself didn't quite come together,
Right.
but beautifully shot, very happy with that. And I forget exactly why, but I had to put it on the back burner.
Okay. Well,
And
life gets in the way sometimes.
Life gets in the way. And I am currently developing a project. First of all, when I do projects, I tend to, for better or for worse, I
Yeah.
tend to deep dive. I go down a rabbit hole and I explore the world,
Right.
and then I
Well, you sound
find,
like you have laser focus on your project, so whatever it takes to do it,
right?
you're
Thank
involved
you.
in it. No,
Thank
that's
you.
what I observe. So
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I went down another rabbit hole,
Now
starting
we got
about.
two going.
So yeah, is that focus or not? Kind of is, kind of isn't. But I have been working for almost 5 years on a project that started with one woman. I've been exploring the world of women
Yes.
venturing into the man's world
Okay.
of billiards,
Wow.
right?
This is so interesting. Thank you for being on the show to talk about your project.
Thank you. Thank you again
Yeah.
for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's go down these two rabbit holes, and with
Which
women.
one? Okay.
The
okay.
women.
So I started talking to this one woman about 5 years ago, and learned that she'd been venturing into that dark, smoky world
Yeah.
in the late 60s, and decided I would tell her story. And then her story involved another woman, and I called that woman.
Boy, this is so interesting. It just shows that you're persistent and stubborn to get the job done.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
billiards with Paul Newman and Jackie Gleason and Minnesota Fats.
Oh yeah.
Just love the genre, and going back, to the 70s, it was so popular there.
Yeah. And you know what? Many of these people that I've interviewed, because I'm interviewing the real people that lived it, and then I'm taking their stories and weaving them together into a dramatic narrative.
You have
Okay.
the talking machine, thumbs up.
Thank you. But many of them were influenced by The Hustler. A lot of
Right.
them watched The Hustler and decided, you know what? I want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And they set their minds to it, and
Well,
they did it.
I was one of those people. Went to Keystone Oaks, a friend of mine, it's called Park Edge in Sheldon. It's a little above my street. A good friend of
Okay.
mine, Pam Bame, had a pool table that her and her family had.
Mm-hmm.
My senior year, I was a little ambitious. I go, if you're going to throw it out, how about you wheel it down and I'll help you wheel it down, with your brother or whatever,
Wheel it down.
the streets
Oh my God.
from their house.
In Pittsburgh, you're talking.
It's my neighborhood in Greentree, and it's a rather steep hill coming down. Then you go steeper. I'm the seventh house on the left.
Oh my.
It's not a movie. And we got it all the way down. We had concrete roads then, so pretty
Okay.
smooth.
Not bricks.
Yeah, no
Okay.
bricks, no
Okay.
cobblestone. And we made it down, and I had a pool table my senior year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Can I include that in the story?
Yes.
Can I work it in there somehow?
You can steal it. That's
Thank
why
you.
I
No,
brought
I'm
it
gonna.
up.
It's not stealing if I ask.
Oh, you can borrow.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah.
No, that's fun.
Oh, it was, and
Yeah.
And a little side note, my mother, nicest lady ever, she goes, Alan, what do you mean you're bringing a pool table in? I go, Mom, right outside your laundry room, we have an area, there's nothing really there. Just some
Okay.
furniture, and we had a family room right next to it, which had the TV and everything.
Okay.
So you got laundry room, little area,
Mm-hmm.
garage door opening into it.
Right.
And we put it right in the middle. I had it all planned out, and the steps go up, so it was away from the pool table.
Perfect.
It was a perfect square.
Yeah.
Put the rectangle right in there, and we played pool there.
And 2 weeks later, you're out hustling.
Yeah. No, I wasn't that good. I had some
No.
skills,
Okay.
and I played well at times, but yeah, I had fun.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, it was COVID that turned me on to this. I
Wow, that's interesting in itself.
lucked out. When I moved back to LA, I found an apartment that was affordable, and strangely enough, it had a pool table in it. Okay.
No way.
Which, because I'm a focused kind of guy,
Right.
I didn't really play much. Then COVID hit,
And you did.
and that's what I did to keep my sanity.
Well, that's the synchronicity of the universe with Jung.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll throw some out there on that. Yeah. Things happen.
Right. And you either pick it up and run with it, or you don't. And this
Well, we
one,
ran with the table down a couple hills to my house and had it for a few years after that.
how many guys, girls, how many people did it take to get that table down?
I think we only had like 3 or 4.
All right, I was going to say at least
Yeah.
3 and
And
maybe.
I was, I'm
5.
about 6 foot, so they had me holding it back from running away.
Okay.
So I
okay.
was responsible, and it was my table.
Right. They were
And,
guiding
and the
you.
the price was 0.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
Right. So at this point, I am good. I am not good enough to go out and
Hustle up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've gone out and gambled once for
Yeah.
$20. I was in New York City actually
Oh my
a
goodness.
year and a half ago,
You're getting around there.
and well, I was exploring for that project actually.
That's a good excuse. I
Well,
like it.
exactly, right. So I went, and there's a pool hall there that is famous and is part of the stories.
What's it called?
Amsterdam Billiards.
I don't know if I've heard of that.
It's-
And there were so many billiard halls
Mm-hmm.
in our area. I remember Route 51 had 2 or 3, and other areas throughout the city and suburbs.
All right.
They were popular.
Well, I'm actually I will be exploring Pittsburgh. I'm back now, obviously, and
Yes.
I am, well, getting back.
Yeah,
I've
let's
recently
circle back.
moved from Los Angeles to Atlanta to try to get this project going.
Right.
But I'm also exploring Pittsburgh as a possible location to shoot as well.
I'm Pittsburgh centric. I love that.
I know you are. So I've got to start scouting for pool halls
Yeah.
or nice little dark smoky bars that have a pool
Yeah.
table or 2. So that's
A lot of
my-
them have dissipated over the years.
I am afraid that might be the case.
Yeah.
But I know there's a couple gems still. I'm
Oh,
sure of
yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
that's on my list of things to do.
Sure. There's some tradition like that in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We're usually 10 years behind the East Coast and West Coast. So,
I guess, is Pittsburgh considered East Coast or Midwest? It's
well,
kind of on the cusp.
sort of, yeah, in
Yeah,
between that.
yeah.
But yeah, I lump us in 10 years behind the East and West Coast,
Okay.
like New York and LA.
Right.
Yeah,
And billiards was very much an East Coast thing at that time,
sure.
and it kind of spread from there.
No, we had it
So-
pretty much. I had a lot of friends that played and hustled and everything else. and
Really?
were good at it.
Yeah. Actually made money at it,
Yes.
or lost money at it.
Well, they said they made money, and if you know true gamblers, they all make money.
Exactly.
And you know that's not the truth.
Exactly. Right.
No doubt.
So-
No, this is so interesting. Go back to the ladies. And you went to one, you went to another,
Right.
and I know there's a progression because
Right.
we did. I had some tea and he had some coffee, and Ken treated me, so
Well,
he got an invite.
I thank you. This is great. Thank you for
You're
being
welcome.
here. I appreciate it. So what happened was I spoke to the one woman, and then 3 or 4 weeks into it, she wasn't willing to. She'd share something with me,
And personal stuff you're
personal
trying to get.
stuff
Yeah.
that I could build a story around. And then
Because
she,
you're a storyteller and a script writer.
yeah,
I'll give you those
thank
because you've
you.
told me that.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm doing.
yes,
But she would tell me something that I could build a story on, something personal. And she'd call back the next day and say, Ken, please don't share that. I'm just not comfortable
sure.
with that.
No,
And-
but it's so nice that you have a rapport with people that they tell
Mm-hmm.
you private things.
Yeah, it took a while to build her trust, and then she'd open up, and then she'd regret not opening up to me, but that I would maybe
That
share
you said
that.
it, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So I would assure her, no, I won't share that. And then we'd keep going, and then she'd do that again. Finally, I said, Palmer, we're friends now, but I don't think I have enough that I can work with to build a story.
Right.
So we split ways, and I washed my hands of it. Then she called me back
Wow.
2 weeks later.
She
Said,
called back.
Ken, I think you should talk to Vicky. She knew Vicky well
So
enough
now
to
you
know
got
that
a
she'd be
third
an open
lady.
book.
I'm keeping count.
No, no, this is my second
Oh,
now.
okay, second
you're getting
now.
ahead.
Yeah.
So I call Vicky, and sure enough, she opens up. She talks and talks and talks, and she's
Just great.
sharing
Yeah.
very personal, some of it horrific, personal events in her life. And so we were working together, and I wrote a script about her, and I realized it was a little flat. It wasn't about her. I realized the story was about the women, not a woman, the women.
The light bulb lit up.
Yeah, working together, competing, yes, but working together to somehow triumph in this
Or
man's world.
to get better, improve
Yeah.
their skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Being a
very-
sports guy, I understand that.
Yeah,
And
you
the
got to
work.
practice. You got to, well, you got to have motivation.
Yeah.
And one thing the women, all of them consistently say early on, they didn't have much motivation because the men, the prize funds for the men,
Well, they dominated it all.
huge.
Yeah.
And the women, they would be in the, like they'd get a pittance relative to the men.
Oh, sure.
And then that started to change.
Yeah.
But so I talked to Vicky, and then her story involved this other woman. So I'm like, can I reach out to her?
Yeah.
And she said, sure. And so she made the connection.
I love the progression of this.
And then that was Mary, and Mary's story involved another woman. And I reached out to her, and she was an open book. But her story involved her husband / ex-husband.
Oh my goodness.
And he was such an important part of her story that I had to reach out to him and get A, his permission,
Right.
and B, his story.
Wow.
And I thought, this is where it's going to just, the shoe is going to drop. It's
Right.
not going to happen. No, he loved to talk about
That's
his
amazing.
story.
He opened up even though it's with his ex.
Right. In fact, I don't know if they thought of it as a therapy session of sorts or not.
You were.
I might be exaggerating, but I had them on the phone at the same time, and the rapport they have, they're still very close friends because
Yeah.
they did have 3 kids,
Oh my goodness.
and they've done that right.
Yeah.
They've been
No,
good
but it's so
parents to both.
cool that they're telling their stories
Yeah.
and what they went through. And
Right.
this is what you want to make a film about.
Right, a series actually.
Oh, a series,
Yeah.
TV series, or
Yeah, like
like a Netflix series?
Well, I'm aiming for HBO Max.
Whoa.
Netflix.
I'm glad I got it out of you.
or something like that.
Dream big, I taught
I
my
think I can
kids,
say
so
this.
keep dreaming.
It's kind of like Queen's Gambit because it's about a woman venturing into a man's world.
Right.
Queen's Gambit was really well done.
And I loved it, and I read the book. Queen's Gambit, the book, is awesome.
Coincidental? No. Walter Tevis wrote the book.
Okay.
Walter Tevis wrote The Hustler. And he
No
wrote
way.
and he wrote The Color of Money. So there you go.
Yeah,
Right.
very good. Hey, we're down to the last 3 minutes.
Okay.
And then usually at the end, I like to get an inspiration for everybody watching the show on how you got involved in this. But how far are you along with doing this almost 5-year project?
Well, I I spoke to I'm losing my voice all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
that's okay.
I spoke to a
we'll grind
producer
it out.
in Atlanta.
Okay.
She's read the pilot script to the project. She loves it. She's trying to put together a game plan that she'll propose to me. And I'm talking to another producer from Atlanta tomorrow.
Good. Good luck. You got
thank
good
you.
karma from
Thank
our
you.
show.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this feels like good timing.
No,
So,
it is good.
yeah.
And we're getting down to about a minute to go.
Okay.
So, how would you inspire others to not be you, but to try what you did, leaving the country to LA and back to Pittsburgh a couple times, and then you're
Right.
doing a project that you already have producers interested in it?
I would say don't quit. Stay focused on what it is you're trying to achieve, what is your purpose, and let that be your driving force. Um, I think it's that simple, really. Don't back down. It's
Well,
kind of
look,
like
you-
any sport.
Right.
You've got to work at it, you've got to practice, and you've got to compete.
And you had a financial breakdown of our country where banks were too big to fail and all this stuff was
Right.
falling apart, and we came back from that.
Sure.
Just like you did, you overcame it.
Thank you.
And look at you traveling back and forth. He's persistent. Some call it stubborn, and I respect being stubborn.
Thank you
You're so welcome.
very much.
And thank you for making the time today in between setting up a set.
Yes. Helping to build a set for another production today. So.
And don't mention that because we're
No,
not going to
no.
promote them.
No,
That's your
no.
private
I don't even know that
business.
much about it. I'm just helping build the set today.
This is my good friend and a good man, Ken Husey. Thank you
Alan.
for being here. And stay tuned for my 88th show next month. I got Rachel Ann Bouvier on for the second time, the poetess of Pittsburgh.